Hello, my name is Michael Beck. I am the drummer and percussionist with the band Happy the Man. We were signed to the Arista record label in 1977 by Clive Davis, and I'm very proud and honored to have been part of that band. It was an amazing band. It had three writers that were incredible: Stanley Whitaker, Kit Watkins, and Frank Wyatt. Had Rick Keno on bass, and once again me on drums and percussion. We had created a unique sound together with hours and hours of rehearsal put in to discover kind of who we were and create our own sound that I believe was fairly different from anybody else out there and still stands up that way clear until today. There's lots of people that still seem to be affected and enjoy and moved and by what we did years ago, and that's a really rewarding thing to have after all these years. What I wanted to do was to take some time to dive into the CD that we did, which is this one, Happy the Man, released on Arista. It was our first one on the major label, and the one that I was mostly involved with and most proud of. A little history on myself. When we first got together, I was a drummer with a drum kit, and I shortly found that to be a little limiting, especially with Happy the Man. We were such a orchestral type band and had lots of incredible dynamics and sections and a very prog-rock kind of thing, but we went from beautiful sections clear into hard driving things and everything in between. And I found the drum kit just didn't get it done for me or be able to convey what I heard in my head that I wanted to layer with what they were presenting in songs they had written. So I kept adding on and adding on to my kit with anything that I could find that would match what I kept hearing, whether it be rustling leaves or bells or sand blocks or big huge drums or gongs or timpani or whatever it may be. I just kept collecting and writing my parts with what I heard. Hence the size of the drum kit that you see up here on the screen that I ended up developing and used in Happy the Man for many years. It had a front section, as you can see, with the drum kit, lots of cymbals and different types of cymbals, and a pretty much straight ahead drum kit. There was scaffolding in front of me with all kinds of bells and chimes and cowbells and whatever may have you. To my left, with a swivel seat, I could turn around to another small bass drum and hold down the rhythms this way, as I had xylophones and pans and toys, a whole box full of whistles and whatever, just a huge amount of stuff to work with. There was a back room, my second room I called it. When I went behind me, you can see shells back there that are seashells that have been flattened, that did a very wind chime effect that was beautiful that I had strung down. Behind those, I had a full set of chimes. I had two timpani. I had tuned dishes. I had bells from school arms to CO2 canisters to log drums to, geez, everything you could imagine. And loved it. All I did was search out percussion instruments to fill them with my drum kit. So I ended up with being able to lay down various drum parts when it fit that, or I could landscape and get the sounds that I heard in my head to match the rest of the music in sections and ups and downs that Happy the Man's music called for. It was wonderful. Quite the percussionist dream to be able to play in a band like that. So anyway, what I want to do is go ahead and go through one of our songs and show you what I did and what I played, and we'll take it from there. Okay, the first song I wanted to cover was a tune entitled Hidden Moods, a beautiful piece that Kit Watkins, our keyboard player, wrote. Kind of a tone poem almost, but it featured the other guys more than it did really the drum kit, hence the reason I played some of the pieces I'll show you in it. Let me play a little bit of it so you can hear it, and then I'll try to explain what I did. There's 4 separate sections to this, so I'll deal with them kind of separately and explain each one. So here's how it starts for the first section. Okay, very pretty, very soft, very laid back, a pretty flute taking the melody on top. The last thing I would want to do would be to interrupt that kind of a feel and sound. So the last thing I want to do is put a drum kit in there with a beat to drive that. To me, it's very laid back, though it does have rhythm to it. So what I chose to use, as you can hear on the track, but I think it blends in so well, it worked greatly, is a log drum. Similar to this. This is not the original, but pretty close to what I did use. Live, I would put this on the snare drum and play this, and the basic part that was underneath what they were doing was that's it, carrying through. Just the log drum underneath what they're doing. I wanted something that was mellow, but I wanted something with some punch to it, so there's a bit of drive, which that has, but it's also noted and fits in with the notes. It was beautiful. It just kind of flowed along. When this next section comes in here, I would add on the first beat a kick drum just to beef it up a little bit, and I'll show you. Yes, so I wanted to add a little bass drum in behind that log drum to give it a little more punch and to drive the tune just a little bit more into the next section, which will be section 2. And right before that section occurs, I put a sizzle cymbal with some chimes. I love sizzle cymbals. They are beautiful sounding. Instead of just a crash, they tend to give a mellow crash and then just extend out with this beautiful sizzle, long lasting, and then fades out sound. And for a song like that in a section that stops and gets ready to come into another one, I wanted that sparkly type thing to happen to get me ready to come into the next section. So log drum, adding the bass drum on 1, and then coming into section 2. Now in section 2, features acoustic guitar over the top. I'm using bells and working the bass drum with the bass player. bass drums going. That's the second part of the song. So once again, I'm using some bells that I've had for years, used back then. They're sleigh bells off of an old Amish cart that I found in an antique store back in Harrisonburg, Virginia, where the band originated. Found a lot of stuff in places like that, and these are beautiful, fit that part perfectly. Just a high, nice ringing over the top with a low bass drum following the bass player Rick, boom, doom, 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 right with him. And then coming out of that part into the third section, once again, there's a signal cymbal with this to give that really pretty, subtle transition into the third part. The third part is here. Features the saxophone. Not much time here, it's pretty free. I chose to go crescendos with my cymbals. Just flowing with the ups and downs. This goes into section 4, hi-hat crescendo. Right here. Okay, that's the first half of the whole ending, and that drives. So that calls for drum kit. I needed to push it, I needed to drive with it. It needs to become more excited and up, but smooth. So, commonly what I would do in a situation like that, and for this particular tune, is there's a beat I used a lot where I would just do between the bell of the cymbal, even though I had a special small one up here that was an old antique cymbal from the 20s that had a beautiful bell, but it was the entire cymbal sounded that way, and hi-hat. So I would like to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and just driving a straight 4 on that. But down the middle of that, it's almost like if you get stereo going right, left, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Right down the middle is the bass doing sort of a 6/8 feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you'd be like a kind of thing happening. And then over the top of that, instead of just putting a snare beat in, which I thought would chop it up, hearing that every fourth beat or wherever you're going to place it, I heard more of a staccato type feel. Ching, 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 to go along with the doom, and so it would just sort of make that section really pop along nicely, but not interrupt it, chop it up, or anything else. So I chose to go with my stick doing a cross stick on the rim in 16th notes. So I basically have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and going down, following the bass, and over the top of it, knocking it that way. I carry that out through the entire piece, clear up through the ending. there you have it. That is Hidden Moods. A beautiful song, complemented each section. Log drum, starting out with, coming into the bell section with the bass drum following the bass guitar player, staying out of the way of the flute and then the acoustic guitar on top. The middle section goes into the very ambient, floaty, really no time, crescendos, ups and downs, emotional type thing, cymbal crescendos. So pretty much staying out of the way into the very ending, into which is cooking along, not rocking, but just clipping along nicely, which I chose my beat, following the bass drum again with the bass guitar, and then over the top, give it a 1, 2, 3, 16th note kind of feel, and just lay in there so that whole ending moves together beautifully. I loved it. I loved the song. Kit's an incredible writer. The band structured it beautifully. We worked on those tunes for a long time until they fell right where we wanted them to be, and I'm very proud of it. So thank you for listening. I'm going to try to do a podcast every other day here if I can, and cover the rest of the songs on the album, and try to let you know what I did on each one. Thank you. If you've got any questions about that particular song or anything really, please feel free to get back to me on my YouTube channel here and ask them, and I'll certainly try to get back and answer anything. Once again, so happy to be a part of this band. Thank you much, Michael Beck.